Music Walache, and we're still here today. We have a big issue on board for discussion, and we're talking about how to market Ghanaian arts on the global market. Trying to move beyond the O2 Arena debates, see some of the challenges we're facing in promoting Ghanaian arts to the outside world, and how we can salvage the situation. That's what we're doing right here on the show. In the meantime, I have some of my great pundits right here in the studio. But before I even do that, let's take a few messages and we'll be right back. All right, Showbiz A-Z, Joe 99.7 FM, a show sponsored by MTN everywhere you go. Superstar multi-fruit drink. And the show produced by Philip Nye. Supported by Anita Tay with Ezekiel Adi on social media. DJ Fantastic behind the console. My name is Kwame Dadzie. Now, Safari Valley Eco Park introduces the Safari Valley wildlife experience by creating an environment that fosters the harmonious cohabitation of forests, water, humans, and wildlife such as zebra, sable antelope, llama, wallaby, fallow deer, Pentagonal mara, and many others. And this is where everyone can come and experience these majestic creatures at a starting price of 250 Ghana cedis, and it's free for children up to 6 years. It's not far from here. It's only an hour drive from Accra. It's open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. each day. So just go to Safari Valley Eco Park with your friends and family today for the thrill of a lifetime. For more information, just go to safarivalleyresort.com, or you can check them out, Safari Valley on Instagram, or call 059 691 4394. Big Chef Tertiary is here. The kitchen has no boundaries. And that's why Big Chef is back. And this time is the maiden edition of the tertiary version. We have 6 tertiary institutions each, represented by 3 contestants who have to come and cook battle for the bragging rights, the cash prize, and lots of products from sponsors. And these goes to their schools and themselves. So let me ask you, which of the schools are you an alumni of, and which of them are you rooting for? Is it Takrade Technical University? Is it Cape Coast Technical University? Or Accra Technical University? Or maybe are you rooting for Ho Technical University? Or the one in my hometown, Koforidua Technical University? And how many of you are also rooting for Kumasi Technical University? Now, which school will emerge the ultimate winner of the maiden edition of the Big Chef Tertiary? We're asking you. Big Chef Tertiary comes your way every Sunday at 5 p.m. on Joy Prime, and it repeats on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Big Chef Tertiary is proudly sponsored by Frito Cooking Oil, Fortune Rice, Syntex Tank, Niche Chocolate Drink, Access Bank, and YouFresh. Big Chef Tertiary, the kitchen has no boundaries. And enjoy Prime, the ultimate experience. It's Joe 99.7 FM. My name is Kwame Dadzie, and Showbiz A-Z. Today, we're talking about how to market Ghanaian art on the global market. Moving beyond the O2 Arena debates, feel the O2 Arena conversation. Has it not become jaded? Are we really celebrating the quote-unquote little wins of our creatives on the international level? What challenges are we facing in promoting our arts on the globe? Already we have the CEO of 1957, the founder of Rhythms on the Runway, broadcaster extraordinaire, K.O.D. on the double. We also have Ken Adi, who is host of Jazz on Joy and Ken's Music Mix right here on Joy 99.7 FM. And then Roland Walker is a music and marketing executive. Let me say hi to my honorable men right here in the studio. Good afternoon.
Hello, Kwame.
Yeah.
Welcome back home.
Thank you very much, boss.
What did you bring back?
Indian accent. I brought something very, very interesting to you.
Yeah?
You want to know?
Tell me about it.
I brought something very, very interesting.
But I mean, listening to how they speak in Singapore, they sound more like us. It's not very Indian.
It's not so much of Indian accent.
Yeah.
I think even in Asia, they have differences.
Of course,
in
I mean, even in
accents.
West Africa, we have
Even in
different
West Africa.
accents. Yeah,
Because when we went to Bali, Indonesia, they were those saying 50 instead of 50.
50.
Yes. So there are differences, but there are Indians in Singapore, there are Chinese, Malays, so all those people.
I mean, it's one country that's really emerged and gradually has become part of the first world. So really,
True.
yeah.
True. 7th richest country in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing so well. Yeah, but we're here to talk about how we can push our music, our arts on that global level. That is why we're here today.
Yeah.
And for the past weeks, we've had conversation about, and I think it's something that keeps coming. Anytime an artist goes to fill an auditorium or let's say a stadium elsewhere, a bigger stadium or venue, then our people tend to lambast our own artists or creators right here why they're not able to do that as well. And then we've had people also talk about, okay, as an artist, my duty is to just do music. Don't worry me about filling O2 Arena or doing anything of a sort. So the argument has been almost always we talk about how we can break boundaries, go on that level. But it appears that from another school of thought, there are other people who are doing so well, like Santofi Band, the Fra Band, Pat Thomas and the Kwashibu Band, Jeduble Ambule, Wiala, and all those people also touring the world, performing to people outside. So the argument is, are we not doing anything at all? Are we really failing as a people? And if we are, what can we do? Are we maybe putting so much pressure on our guys right here? Because you see Sarkodie touring, he's having a tour. Stonebwoy is doing the same, Black Sherif, and all these guys are doing what they can. But because maybe Nigerians are doing better, they are almost everywhere. We seem to be putting so much pressure on them. Is that the situation? That's why we're here today to do that discussion. Let me also say that we have in the studio, he is poet and playwright Chief Mumin. Welcome, my brother.
Yes, welcome back from Singapore.
You want to break my microphone?
Unfortunately, I don't have very fond memories of Singapore.
Oh, you've been there
twice.
Okay. Twice?
Oh, you should.
Oh,
on
wow.
business, actually. But on my first trip, it was right after Salah. And I had eaten a lot of meat and concoctions and entered straight into the plane. And I had a terrible runny stomach.
Oh.
And if you know the flight to Singapore is uncomfortably long.
Yes.
You have to do a transit somewhere.
Yes.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, Uncle Kelly.
Chief,
Yes.
did you say you had eaten a lot of concoctions?
Well, I mean, it's Salah. You go from
But he
house
said
to
a lot
house.
of meat and concoctions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you drink concoctions or you ate concoctions?
I mean, within the context of food, I drank. So yeah, it was terrible for me in the plane. And when I got to the airport too, I was detained for some security checks.
Hey.
So I mean, that was
Yeah?
my trip. Yes.
Wow.
You of all people.
I mean, me of all people.
I know.
Back then, I wasn't me exactly.
Kwame, let me tell you, it
don't
happens to
believe
me so often.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, out of 10 people, maybe I can count. Out of 10 times, I'll be one of those that would
Like,
be called
seriously?
randomly to be searched. I'm like, okay, what do I look like? Do I look like one of the people?
I mean, you look like a baron.
See your life.
For me, like this innocent looking.
That's why I'm surprised.
I
I
know.
think that maybe because of my situation, there was a visible tension on my face.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, imagine someone who is suffering.
And why was there a visible tension?
No, that Uncle Ken, have you been struck down by a running stomach?
Oh,
okay.
dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, of course I have.
Yeah,
I mean, visibly be sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
You'll be
in a security
perspiring.
situation can give wrong signals. So,
And you would look pale too.
like you are carrying contraband.
Yeah.
And it's indeed a contraband in your belly.
All right. Okay, guys. Jordan 89.7 FM Showbiz A to Z. You can send your messages ahead of time 055 11 11997. And today we're looking at how we can market Ghanaian arts on the global market. Let me start with you, KOD. Without comparing ourselves to any country, how would you rate our performance in the creative industry now when it comes to global visibility?
I think we're doing what we can in our own small way, but we have certain challenges. If we get out of this space and go out of Ghana, obviously our event organizers out there, what kind of resources do they have to put up spectacular or huge events for it should not be for the Ghanaian community. We need to go out of that space. But then for most of the musicians who leave here to travel out for gigs, they usually, from the days of, Daddy Lumba, Amachi Dede, Kojo Intri, it's always been performing to a Ghanaian audience out there. The Nigerians did the same thing.
Sure.
Somehow, with the advent of Afro beats with an S, they've been able to go beyond the African space or the Nigerian space, and now they are performing before an international audience. Some or most of the event organizers are actually very Nigerian. And they are able to put resources together to pay for some of these venues. They also know that wherever they find themselves in the world, they have the numbers. So in terms of filling those auditoriums, it's not a big deal. I think our boys are doing their best. You mentioned Wiala, Ambule at his age, still touring, Pat Thomas as well, Santrofie, and Chinchim. They are doing their best.
Even Ebo Taylor.
Oh, Ebo Taylor, yes. He would sit in his chair, but dish out. You know what I mean? So I think we're doing well. Our major challenge has always been that of finance. I write on your wall very often about that. It's one aspect that we can't overlook. Right from Ghana, event organizers, musicians organizing their own shows. When they get out of Ghana, I've been paying attention to most of the Ghanaian events out of the Ghanaian space, out there. And Charlie, even the stage itself, the kind of backdrop they have. Is this how we want to sell us? I don't want to mention names, but you can go around, just check on social media. Our Ghanaian events out there, just the stage itself, the kind of backdrop. Charlie, fly a par on this day. So like, where do you want us to go? How, the creative space is all about branding. How are you branding us? Because if the pictures out there are seeing you performing to a fairly huge Ghanaian audience, maybe in England, and the backdrop is some flyer advertising the show itself, that this is the day of the show, and that's what's right behind you. Come on, Charlie. I think we can do better.
So, on a whole, let me lump everything together as a creative industry. How would you rate our global visibility?
I don't want to rate it on a scale of maybe 1 to 10. I just want to say that we have a long way to go. We need to pull all the strings, and it starts from somewhere, Kwame. Let me start right from how it starts for most musicians. Most of them are starting as emerging acts in the neighborhoods with their friends who have so much belief in them. And then these friends eventually become their managers. Now, as they evolve, the friends who are managers don't also learn. They're just happy to be, their friend is, like a Stonebwoy.
They're comfortable.
Is big. Stonebwoy's manager. We've been friends for many years. I'm his manager. If you need to get through to Stonebwoy, Charlie, I'm the one you speak to. Now, as the guys evolve and get bigger, the stage become too big for these managers. The old friends. But then, Charlie, this guy was there through thick and thin. You're also evolving as an actor. You're getting bigger. Do you just relegate these guys? It's one of the problems. So some of our managers should also learn. We all know how these things start. Charlie, when I started, in my case, it's a bit different because in my teens, what I did was whenever I was on vacation from secondary school, I'd sell cassettes for Daddy Luba and at Despite's shop, and I was meeting all these musicians. I was hanging out with Charles Amoa at Cage Studios, Willie Roy, all these guys. So I learned I appreciated and also learned the hard way what the music industry entails. But most of these guys, Charlie, the guy has a hit. So Charlie, all of a sudden, he's the manager, he's the one to speak to whenever there's a major gig. And that narrative needs to change. It's okay if you want to hang around as a manager, but you need to learn as well. So for me, that is the foundation That is where we need to straighten up
Great.
right from the scratch.
Great. I'm sure. you
Otherwise,
have-
as the gigs get bigger, as the platform gets bigger, these guys won't understand how to even negotiate.
True. I'm sure you have a lot of those concerns, so we will put them together.
Yeah, we
when
will.
come back. Let me
We
go to
will.
Randy Walker, who is a music and marketing executive. Now, taking the entire industry, as a whole, which areas do you think we've made some strides? We have filmmaking, we have music, we have all the others.
We have theater.
We have theater.
Yeah, we have comedy.
We have comedy, all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just let's entirely
Literally
look at
absolutely.
the orange economy.
What do you mean by
Exactly.
music and movie and all the others?
Kwame,
Yeah.
I apologize. Chief, I apologize.
Kwame,
Angela.
can I get some clarity before Randy
Yes, please.
starts his
Yes, please.
submission? The question you posed, you asked which areas have we made some strides?
Yeah.
Yes.
And which strides are you talking about?
Global
Internally
visibility.
or globally?
Global visibility.
Okay.
That's the crux of the matter now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
think that's good clarity there.
yes.
Even before I go on to answer the question, I think it feels like a big circle moment for me right now because some years back I used to live close to PPAG.
Okay.
And that was like a few
Okay.
meters away from Radio.
From Radio
Yeah.
Gold, yes.
And at the time, my dad was friends with BB.
Mention.
And I delivered one time some speech at some graduation ceremonies like, you need to do radio.
Of course.
He walked me directly to Radio Gold. And guess who I met?
Kofi.
Oh wow.
And today, I happen to be sitting right next to him
Wow.
Yep.
on the same show. I mean, yeah.
One for the treble, two for the
Well,
bass.
for the
well,
bass.
those two happy. But anyway, just to pick from right where he ended, I mean, just like you mentioned in entirety, I think it's in a bit of an overdrive for what we're seeing in the arts, from the music to the comedy to the theater to film and everything. I mean, recently, talking about travel and everything, OB, Lexi the comic, after every month or two on tours, not locally, internationally, across Africa and everything. We have bands like you spoke about from Santrophy to, new bands like Super Jazz Club, very, very indigenous Ghanaian bands that are doing, alternative music, filling up stadiums, building momentum out there. You have the boys like Asaka, building and gathering momentum as well. Recently, they were doing a lot of shows out there. The Black Sheriffs, the Kiddies. I chanced on an interview where Kiddy was talking about the insights behind, one of the songs you actually play, Touch It.
Touch
And he was telling me the actual reason why the song blew up in Asia, specifically in India, is there's a certain connotation of shut up and bend over and their local parlance that it connotes authority. So their parents would tell you, don't say anything, shut up and bend over.
Oh wow.
And so to us, it sounded a bit
Yeah.
different, but in another context, this is what it sounded like. And so they were intrigued, like, who's this guy? Why is he using this? Does he understand? So beyond what we see here, there's a lot of growth that's gone around. We'll sit here, the Peter Sedofias of the world, the Shelley Frimpong Mansos are unlocking big budgets that prior to today, they probably were not able to unlock. I mean, KOD mentioned, eventing. And today we're seeing events that have grown to scales where, global events are today. We have the Wilderland Star for Futures and all of that. So I think, on the overarching, perspective, I think it's in a bit of an overdrive. We probably don't see that because we're in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And so we often overlook what's happening on the road and we go directly to who's overtaking you. But if you sit in your car and actually stay in your lane and go at your own pace, you realize it's not a bad car after all. I think that's where we are. There's a lot of room for improvements, definitely. But I think we've done a lot of good for ourselves as well.
Okay, let me come to Uncle Ken. So I want to be clear. What parameters are we using to judge whether our arts industry, be it music, film, is actually having some global visibility? What are the parameters?
Good question. And you realize I asked for clarity
Yes.
in your earlier question
yeah.
as well. And you mentioned that you were actually looking at the global,
Yeah. Global
effect,
market, yeah.
that we've had. I sometimes get bewildered and confused with what we actually want.
Good.
I have heard so many people. I have so many sectors that I would want to talk about, but
Good.
time.
Oh, we have time.
Let me start with the music, for
Okay.
instance. Okay. Now, I've heard so many people say, let's promote our own. Let's play a lot of our music in Ghana. Okay. It should be. I don't have anything against a policy where we play 80 or 90% of our local music
Yeah.
in our own country for people to know what's happening and for us to help push those musicians. I don't have anything against that, you know. But if you ask for that, and then you come back and tell me that you want to get into the global market, then I ask myself, but do you expect somebody in another country to also accept your music when you are asking for yours to be played, 90% of yours to be played in your country? If that person also asks for his 90% to be played in his country, how are you going to penetrate his country?
Perhaps we're not,
Uncle,
perhaps
Uncle
we're not
Ken,
getting
you know,
even 1%.
this is where
of ours.
I'd interject.
Okay.
I totally disagree with what you're saying.
No, I'm asking a question.
Yeah, I know, but you're asking a question.
Yeah.
So you're asking, you're
can't-
just playing the devil's advocate
Exactly. You can't
Okay.
disagree with my question.
Okay.
I have a right to ask the question. Kehud.
here. Because, you know, we also know of situations where other countries have a music policy on their airwaves.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, you can't just walk into
And I did
certain
say
places.
that I
Yes.
don't have a problem with the
Yeah.
music policy
Yes.
where we play that.
Yep.
So that's the point I'm trying to make is everybody, every country has its policy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so trying to get into somebody else's territory is not going to be easy.
Kwame, even before you come in, sorry, just you know, an add-on to what Kodi and Uncle Ken said. So the policy has to be scalable. It has to be practical. You know, I think that's what you know they're both talking about. I'll give you a very good example where some years ago I happened to be the lead curator for a pay TV channel locally. You know, and so what they wanted to do was they had extended programming into Ghana, and they needed a 24-hour Ghanaian channel. You know, Akwaba Magic.
Yes.
And so they needed a music block on the channel. We reached out to, you know, as we built the channel for them, the TV block for music, solely 100% Ghanaian music. And, you know, launched it across 48 African countries. You know, was doing so well, shot station to number 8 after a few months, all of that. Now, the big challenge was we were playing 100% Ghanaian music, and that meant we had to play every music that was brought us. But here's where the challenge lies. Anybody and their grandmother was bringing songs because it was Ghanaian music.
Right.
And if we set to the bar that Trace at the time was on that same pay TV channel platform, they had launched Trace Jama, which was doing similarly
Exactly.
what Akwaba Magic wanted to do with that platform. MTV Base was doing the same thing. Sound City, Channel O, all these other platforms were doing the same thing. If you're broadcasting in these same markets and you wanted to be seen as that guy in the room and command same respect, you needed to come correct.
Exactly.
We had to slash a lot of people down.
Yes.
They didn't understand.
And look for
Hold
quality.
on. I was going to ask.
Look for
what
quality.
accounted for this slash?
Quality. Just
Quality.
like, yes.
Kwame,
just
don't
like
forget
cannot
I'm on the
compromise on
floor.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm enjoying this.
so back to your question.
I am enjoying what's happening because I need these.
Back
They're arming you.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're arming me.
Your delivery.
Back to your question.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, giving a quota to foreign, let's say, content
Right.
doesn't mean you are preventing them from coming into
Yeah.
your country
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
So if you give maybe 20%,
Even
or
10%,
30%
yeah.
to foreign
Let's say
content,
10%.
that's fair.
That's fair. Let's say 10%. Because you see, my issue is this. I come from an era, Kofi, where I grew up with music from
Other parts of the world.
all over
world.
the world
All over the world.
being played to me in Ghana. That's where I grew up. Okay? There were all sorts of musical programs on radio, GBC.
Yeah.
Way down south, rock, you know. So it got me interested in all kinds of music, not only the Ghanaian music. And I always believe that good music always finds its way
Yeah.
up there. So long as the music that you produce, whatever kind of music it is, if it is good, it will find its way up there.
But
That-
sometimes
that-
it
that's
needs,
my
it needs a
belief, oh.
push. It needs
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Intentional push.
Yes, intentional push.
Intentional.
Thank you.
I mean, that's going to be our watchword for this afternoon.
Intentional.
Intentional.
Intentional. Intentional push. Yes. Because you need to get that across for people to hear.
Yeah.
So I ask myself, when Ghanaian musicians go to perform outside, who do they perform to? I'm asking this question because I'm saying to myself, people like Jeduble Ambule, people like Fra,
Yeah.
Sancho fees.
Santrophy,
Yeah.
when they go to play, ask yourself, who are their audiences? Who are the majority of their audiences?
Non-Ghanaians.
Kofi, you tell me.
I know that's non-Ghanaians, but there's something very interesting. Uncle Ken.
Yes. Yes. No. Repeat what you just said.
There's something very interesting.
Answer my question.
Yeah, non-Ghanaians. Non-Ghanaians.
Thank you.
But there's something we I don't know what accounts for this. Now, those doing mainstream music who are making all the noise on the airwaves, getting all the airtime, and getting all the gigs on various platforms are the ones who are not playing these gigs. You actually find the alternative music people
Thank you.
Appealing to the foreign audience.
So, if you ask me a question, how do we sell our music to the outside world?
Yes.
How do you expect me to answer?
I think I get Uncle Ken's argument. He's building the argument gradually. When
Yes.
it gets there, crystallizes, you'll understand better.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you see, the people who are selling our music are not who we think they are.
True.
The Wialas, the Jeduble, I tell you, throughout a year, if you know the number of gigs Jeduble,
I saw his calendar this year.
Yes.
I'm telling you, Fra, and there are others. What's his name? That acoustic guitarist.
Aisoba.
No, not even Aisoba.
Atongo.
Atongo Simba.
Not Atongo Simba. Woo! This brilliant acoustic guitarist, the protege
acoustic.
of the maestro.
Kwame Dadzie.
Not Kwame Dadzie is not.
Well, he plays acoustic
He
guitar.
plays everything.
Yeah.
Kwame
Plays
plays
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
The names just escaped me.
Okay.
But there are brilliant people espousing our music out there, and particularly in France, and in those European countries.
Yeah.
So, as for me, if we are looking at people who are selling our music out there, they are the ones I look at. Because if this afternoon, Kofi, I had a discussion on Peace FM just before I came here about people, Ghanaian musicians being billed to perform in the States and people don't attend
That's another angle
Yeah,
of
it's
the whole
it's
discussion.
yeah.
the gigs.
Yeah, the gig.
Famille mentioned that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently it was Familia who
Yeah,
brought
on
that
Hit FM,
up,
yeah.
and it is blown out into a discussion that I think is important.
Yeah, it's important.
Very important discussion for us to discuss. So I'm happy we are doing what we are doing. I'm listening to people like Kofi, Randy, yet to listen to Chief. And then if my prodigal son will appear, Sadiq will also listen to Sadiq on these matters, because I want to know what the problem is and what exactly we want.
Okay, Chief Moment. So, do you actually think that we're not doing so well on the international market when it comes to global visibility?
Well, I mean, you first framed the question as the creative industry, right? So
Yes.
we are not particularly
Music.
focused on the music industry.
Yes.
Exactly.
I mean, we
Talk
know-
about yours. Talk
we know
yours.
that
That's what you want to say.
musicians are
Hey.
an over-pampered bunch. I mean, they enjoy most of the
Is it,
limelight.
Chief?
In fact, I remember in the NDC's time, one of the first times we had an allocation for the creative industry back then was about
The 2 mil?
cities. It all went into the music industry,
Yeah.
right? And you know, and the musicians who can be very, very selfish, especially
know.
when they cry that they need a lot of support, but they hardly support any other initiative within the creative industry. So we all gather our time and our energies to focus on the music industry, blah 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 blah. But they hardly enable other industries, I must say. But well, maybe I understand because music is popular art. It occupies a pride of place. You know, it's visible and it's engaged. But since it's about the creative industry, let me use precious airtime to also shine lights on the other sectors of the creative industry that are doing very well. Actually, you know, I mean, let's look at the, I mean, the fine arts, visual arts. You know, we have the likes of Ibrahim Mahama who is doing great things. You know, doing great exhibitions around the world. He, on his own accord, has come to build a whole contemporary art center in Tamale. You know, there's the sage Atukwe Klotes. They are the guys, I forget their name, who they do paintings.
Amako Boafos.
Amako Boafos.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them had his work on a space shuttle of Jeff
Yep.
Bezos. You know,
Yep.
piercing through space. I
Sure.
mean, that's even
the artists
beyond
are doing
international.
very well.
Yeah,
That's-
they are.
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
universal, if I may say,
Yeah.
right? So there are these people who are doing extremely well.
Safori.
In fact, if you look at the art industry in Ghana, when I say I mean visual
Fine
arts,
arts,
there's a
visual
fine
arts.
arts, visual
Yeah,
arts.
the visual arts and
There's a
fine
whole
arts.
resurgence. You know, there are a lot of galleries that are being opened now in the country. You know, that's showcasing a lot of young artists. A lot of them are going international, doing a lot of things in galleries that we hardly ever hear of. So in terms of that aspect of the creative industry, there's a lot of visibility and there's a lot of things happening in that industry. Let's take, I mean, the literary art. I mean, we have some of the greatest African writers here. We celebrated Ama Ate, who passed recently, but she's one of the, you know, the great voices on the international stage. My own mentor, Professor Kofi Anyidoho, you know, recently awarded around the world. I think University of Glasgow gave him an honorary degree. These people, we don't hear about them, but I mean, when it comes to the literary world, they are giants. I mean, one of our favorite listeners on this show, Professor Sutherland Addy, you know, she's always listening. She's a giant in the literary field. So in the literary field, you know, from theater to poetry to novels, there's a whole group of young Ghanaian novelists who are emerging that are enjoying a lot of global acclaim. Those people are also there. Those people are also enjoying a lot of visibility and attention. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, right? So if we also as a country decide to also highlight, maybe we should decide that when it comes to new internationally, you know, the Nigerians are gaining a lot of the limelight. So the little energies that we have to being intentional, let's use that to support other industries and allow music to, as it were, hibernate for a while. Because why not, you know?
Oh, really?
I mean, we've had glorious years from the days of palm wine music to highlight music, you know, from the Osibises to the Kodrian trees to the Dale Dumbes. I mean, music has done fine, right? So why don't we, if there's any more allocation,
Why don't we
there's
push
any more-
everything together?
No,
No, but that's the
no,
thing,
no.
because the country doesn't have a capacity to push everything.
push
And we
everything.
have pushed music.
Why
enough.
don't we develop the capacity?
You know, so my argument is that let music hibernate because it will grow organically, and if there's any budgetary allocation to support the arts,
music
let's
can't
focus.
hibernate.
No,
Music
I mean, that's
can't
what it will
hibernate.
grow organically. I mean,
So-
KOD will still do his 1957 and bring the big boys on the stage. I mean, but what's for me?
Chief,
what's
you
the reason?
use
Why are they
music in
complaining?
theatre.
These guys are
That's
satisfied.
exactly.
So-
Chief,
Yes.
there's music in
There's
theater.
music in theater. You
Yes,
cannot
of course.
let
We
music
can't
hibernate.
hibernate.
In that situation,
So why don't we channel that music through
So-
theater
so-
and other aspects? I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we should also pay equal attention. And I think Uncle Ken also made a very important point, right? Usually when we're also talking about the attention, we're focused on our favorite. When I say our favorite, I mean the most popular.
Yes.
If people are selling the O2, the question is why
Yeah.
it's not Sarkodie or
Why is
Stone
not-
Boy or who else is top 3 in Ghana? Maybe
Shatta
Shatawale.
Wale.
Well, you know, these guys are comfortable. I mean, they've made money, you know, in their
Yes.
industry.
I know,
So
but
usually that's what we're
Chief,
referring to. Yes.
other people have made more money.
Yes, of course, I understand, right? But
And
you
who are
know,
those?
since the O2 was built,
those out of this space.
since the O2 was built, right? There's been a lot of musicians who have sold
I'm
out.
glad
But
you're
it has
saying
never
so.
been our
Those
issue because
out
of cultural proximity. Now that we are seeing Nigerians move that far, we are also asking ourselves, why not? I understand. I mean, if Nigerians can do it, our brothers in Nigeria can do it. We can also do it. But let's also understand that there's time and season. There is a momentum for Nigerian music now. So globally, when it comes to Afrobeat, they are dominating, the international, limelight, That should not be a point of despair for us. As I've always said, this O2 craze, this Grammy craze, yes, it's good to be ambitious, but it's not every musician who wants to be international. That's also my point. We have to have our local people satisfying the local market, but the opportunities.
Any musician who doesn't want to be international, I don't think so.
I mean, if you go to my village, the guy
okay. Oh, come on, Chief. We merge and make it big.
Yes, not everyone has that ambition to be international. There are people who are ambitious, that's fine, but there are people who are niche. In fact, there are people who are niche that are going international that Uncle Ken was referring to. So why don't you celebrate them and hold them as our flag bearers? So if Akode is not doing it, or Shetawale is not doing it, or Stoneboy is not doing it, what about the Wiala who is doing it? What about the FKOM boys who are doing it? Festivals around the world, right?
There's an Amare who's doing it.
There's Amare who's doing it.
Chief, hold on. Do you know where the challenge is?
Yes, please.
Now, these alternative musicians who are not getting all the airtime, all the relevance on social media, it's because they are not intentional. The word is intentional. Intentional about promoting what they do out there. You'd have to chance on maybe an Inchin band concert somewhere, maybe on their social media platform to know, oh, Charlie, they played this gig, or they post something. You go through their Instagram account and then see like their calendar for the year, and they're playing this number of gigs.
But Kofi, don't you also think it's because their music is not what you call woke?
No, it's not woke. I'm not sure the word is woke.
I don't know. Maybe I'm using the wrong word. Their music
is actually woke in a sense because they speak to more
they do.
Or
their music is not
and not the bum bum and the boom boom.
Well, maybe we should just use the right pop.
Exactly.
That's it.
Pop. So it's niche, But that's why we may even describe it as alternative. But to land on my point, because I don't want to land on the music note because I know that I'm here also to bring some diversity to the conversation.
Exactly.
To say that if we take a look at the creative industry as a whole, even in the event space, if I have to conclude with this, there's something that we enjoy in Ghana that one of our panelists was talking about. Randy was talking about. There's something in the zeitgeist in Ghana. We are like a cultural capital when it comes to Africa. Anything that is coming out of look at Chalowote, for example. It's one of the biggest festivals on our calendar. Look at the Afro Future now, one of the biggest. When Afro Nation wanted to come to Africa, they started by coming to Ghana. So there's something culturally about Ghana that gives products from Ghana some kind of respect and reverence. Maybe not as much as to popular music, but if you look at culture as a whole.
Music as well. It was going to be one of my submissions. Ghana's always been a springboard. Let's even start from the early 2000s.
Jody, I'll come there. I'll come to you.
So I just want to say that if you take a look at that alone, there's so much going good for Ghana. I mean, look at the year of return, the international media attention, diaspora and everything, some of which we are yet to totally make good use out of. So let's also see that, we can have it all. So let's give others their successes. Let's also hold on to our success, even though we continue to be ambitious and aspire for greater things. But I would say that culturally, there's just something about our industry that in itself is respected across Africa. And we are a springboard, and as Kwame said, we'll come to it right now.
Okay, one question.
Chief.
Yes, Uncle Ken.
Talking about theater.
Yes.
How effective has your efforts been to export Ghanaian theater out there?
It's expensive.
As in Chief personally?
No, not Chief.
I mean, you know that the industry.
I'm looking at the theater.
It's burgeoning, it's growing, in terms of commercial theater. Even though we've had, different phases of theater, there used to be a lot of troops in this country that used to go around the country and internationally too. I mean, people have done things internationally. But I do agree that theater is one of the spaces that we are yet to globally gain as much attention as in other areas. That's what some of us actually been working on now to just make our productions.
Chief, what would you say are some of your challenges? Sorry.
As you said,
Kwame,
no, it's good. Good question.
It's huge. It's investment, right? It's about creating a product that would sell internationally, and it's about creating the networks that, because essentially you are opening the whole path for yourself. At least with music and other things, there are connections with visual art. There are people who come from internationally to look for these works. Theater, nobody is coming to say that we are looking for theater product to take international. So essentially, we have to create the way ourselves. And that's why some of us for the past 6 years.
Chief, is it the stories we're selling as well? And I'm looking at maybe some 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, we had Umoja in Ghana. They came here maybe a couple of times. They were touring the whole world. They had a story, one that, as Ghanaians, we were really part of the liberation struggle in South Africa from a distance. So we could appreciate what they were trying to sell to us or the rest of the world. Do we have that same kind of story?
I mean, honestly, I did, for example, let me now talk about,
yourself.
I can talk about, I did work with anyone who saw work with knew that it was a product that could sell internationally, right? It was a labor of love to put our history and Ghana's position in Africa in terms of our independence struggle is an African story, right? We had that in our production, and we worked very, very hard, from all quarters, from official to business, to take it internationally. We didn't succeed, right? And then I moved on to the Mansa world, and now thankfully we are succeeding, but it has taken a decade of active practice of building networks around the world that is beginning to open these opportunities for us. And we are just about to do our international launch, in Paris, and I'll be announcing that soon.
Chief,
and it will be one of the biggest theater troops out of Africa to do a
Chief, what's the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge?
Opportunity. There's absolutely no opportunity. So I'm creating the opportunity myself. As I said, in music, at least there are producers who come down and look for talent. You are connected to the industry. When it comes to fine arts, there are people who are looking for talent like that. But no one is actively saying that we're looking for theater productions to go out. So for your theater production to go out, you have to lay the pipelines. You have to go to the market. You have to create the opportunities. You have to create the networks. So in fact, I respect those of us in that industry, because essentially we are building from absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you're very resilient.
Okay.
Kwame, Chief mentioned something that's actually, it's reminded me of the number of times we've had music executives from major international record labels. VGMA has been one organization that brings them very often to GH. And when they come and they're looking for that opportunity to engage with our musicians, those who are supposed to be our A-listers never show up.
Of course they would.
Yeah.
Why do you think they do?
Why
do you think they
exactly? Why do they do that?
Why do you think they do?
Our A-listers who want these same opportunities with these record labels in terms of distribution, possible record deals,
publishing,
and getting that promotion, distribution, getting that opportunity to be on certain platforms, they don't show up.
Kwame, I think you can go.
Let me invite our listeners. If you have any thoughts on this subject, we're looking at how to promote Ghanaian arts on the global market. Send us your thoughts right now. 055-11-11997. 055-11-11997. So that particular a question. Why is that the situation? Uncle Ken, you have answers?
No, I don't. Ask.
So Kwame, I think
Kofi.
So I think largely one question we can ask across board is, what is the level of their appetite for success? Like KOD mentioned, you want the opportunity is staring right in your face, you're nowhere to be found. Nobody can be blamed because you want it. They're here knocking on your door with the deals and everything. You're not there to leverage. I tell you what, some 2-3 years ago, I was on the same VGMA platform at the seminar. I was standing next to Rudy and Samo. He was the head of Trace Anglophone. And Samo told me about something that some Ghanaian talents, A-listers, had walked up to him and told him directly. It's like, yo, why are you guys not playing our music? Yeah, the typical uproar and everything. And Samo tapped one of the guys like, look, if I move from where I am, I go to Kigali Airport, they are playing Wizkid. If I go to Egypt, they are playing Wizkid. When I go to Germany, it's Wizkid. Do you want me to come back to Nigeria and South Africa where Trace is headed and play any other music?
Wow.
It's a business. And it's a programming struggle. In as much as he would want to put or playlist whoever or whichever artist he feels deserves.
But, I don't entirely agree with him. It's called Trace Africa. It's not called Trace Nigeria.
So the thing is, he went on to give another example about, so for a music platform as global as Trace is, let's not put Trace in the picture here. As many music platforms that exist on TV, pay music TV platforms, generally, they play a plethora of music from, the world, basically. And would you agree that if an audience, or if somebody is watching and turns on their TV, they see a Rihanna video on TV. The next thing they see is a Ghanaian video. How sure are you that video may match up to that switch in quality?
Why wouldn't that match up?
In times recent, no. So here's the thing.
Ideally, it should. Once it's been able to make it onto their platform.
True. So here's the thing. In times recent,
they certify. They certify these videos before they.
Even before it gets there.
Randy.
Yeah.
Recent in recent times, it gets there, and it's not any great disparity. But at the level where the consumer sees the change, I wouldn't want to watch it here and see that switch so evident.
I get your point.
You know, too much that I'll switch
point.
off. It takes 6 to 8 seconds for me to pick up my remote and
get
say,
your
hey,
point.
I don't like this video next.
I get your
It's
point.
not about a quality problem. We're doing great stuff. We're winning music videos, you know, awards outside Ghana and everything. That's a testament to the fact that we're doing some amazing work. But at what scale are we doing some of these things? You know, and the Ghanaian is excellent at doing one thing: importing problems that have zero frame of reference to what we're doing here. You know, like the typical, you know, O2 conversation and everything.
I know, right?
How many people locally have filled the Grand Arena? How many people have filled Accra Sports Stadium?
So let's
How
How
many people can go to the Independence Square? And I tell you what, before Global Citizen, when I worked on Global Citizen and it came to Ghana, when we announced it was coming to Independence Square, you know, it's a free event, but it's gated. Oh, people can do it. How do you want to do it?
Yeah,
Once we don't understand, we're projecting our fears. Because nobody prior to that, there's been concerts there, but nobody prior to that has done a gated event at the Independence Square.
I definitely knew it was going to work.
Exactly.
First of all,
Because
we had an international audience in Ghana at the time.
Exactly.
You know, about 1 million people had added on to our population.
You see the difference.
He had an
He's
international
there.
budget.
He's been there. No, it wasn't even about budget, because there's been events. I mean, there's been a lot of, you know, local events here. There's been international events. Some years back when Malta Guinness came, brought peace to Ghana.
Filled.
You know,
Yeah.
there's been that. There's been those things.
Yes.
But Kwame, once we can't see it, it's impossible. That's what the Ghanaian thinks. When Afro Nation was coming some 3-4 years ago, oh, this thing is it not a concert? Oh, 4 days. Oh, it won't happen. We did, and the next year, see Ghanaians scrambling for tickets. You know, how long do you have to go to the extent of showing the Ghanaian before they see and buy into whatever experience you're selling?
So
I think this actually reminds me of the words of Marcus Garvey that says, "Without confidence in self, you're twice defeated in the race of life."
Yes.
You know, how confident are we as a people in terms of projecting what is ours?
And
Because it's he's one of us. So Charlie, maybe another day we can have time to pay attention to him.
Talking about confidence, so there is this whole comparison. You know, anytime Nigeria makes any stride, we compare them to Ghana. Do you think that comparison is healthy for us?
Kwame, do you know why they compare?
Is it healthy?
They compare because Ghana is the springboard. Two-Face had not made it internationally until he came to Ghana. P Square, they blew out after they came to Accra.
True.
The great fella Nicola Pukiti, Ghana was his second home.
Facts.
Hugh Masekela, Ghana was his second home. Uncle Ken, give us some of your people.
So
They all came
why,
in.
must we be pressured anytime they make any?
I think it's because of how big they make it internationally compared to our own people. You know, the platform that gave them that elevation is not able to get to that height. Then it means that there's a problem, you know, on the ground amongst us.
So must we use them as a yardstick to measure our success?
No, it should not. It should not necessarily be the yardstick to measure our success. Like Chief mentioned, when there are concerts at the old, what's it called, Grand Arena and other places, are we able to fill those spaces?
Some of them fail.
Well, some of them do.
Some do.
But Kwame, you know the number of free tickets that also enhance these places being filled. I'm an event organizer. I know these things. You know, you want to create a certain picture, image for your next sponsor to put money on the table. So it needs to look like it was a full house. Do you understand? But I think it also starts with that. We don't even appreciate our own. When our musicians leave GH and go outside to perform, our event organizers, especially our Ghanaian event organizers, are not able to even put them in hotels. Some. They live within the Ghanaian communities. And then yeko chianti mansa yeko anti ya hodom yeko didi away hodom. These people who look up to you, they see you as a star. Now you come and mingling with them. You're done with your concert and you're not even going back home. Charlie, make us stay around small for like 1 month, be and chill small. Come on,
But
they will
Kofi,
not want to pay to see you the next time.
Kofi, can I ask you this?
Yes.
But who were they supposed to be going to perform to? If not the Ghanaian community,
Yeah.
who were they supposed to be going to perform?
Uncle Ken, I'm sure over
Was
the
your
years.
music exposed to the American audience?
Well,
So-
it starts from the
That's
Ghanaian
another
community.
thing.
That's another thing.
Huh?
It starts
Yes.
from the Ghanaian
Yes.
community, but even within the Ghanaian community, this is how they behave when they are there. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You're the big star. I've always seen you on TV. I see you on social media, Charlie. I see your videos. I see how you're living large. All of a sudden, you are in London and then you're coming to live in one of the rooms in my house. It takes that star out of you.
And
Once you get
Kwame,
closer, you realize that, Charlie, you don't be all that.
Kofi, all these shows that are organized out there, Party in the Park. Let's take Party in the Park.
Ghana Party in the Park.
Ghana Party in the Park. Who is that show organized
Largely for the
Large- yes.
Ghanaian audience.
I know,
Yes.
but it's not supposed to be so.
But largely, Kofi, because nobody else knows those musicians coming to perform there apart from Ghanaians.
Why don't they know them?
Social media
That's the
has
issue.
changed everything.
So,
Why
so-
don't they know
Social
them?
media has changed
So-
everything.
so-
that is
if
why we're
there's,
here.
a Nigerian party in the park, all the Ghanaians in London would be there.
Yeah, why are they there?
So Kwame,
Randy,
yes, I think it's largely a perception problem in twofold.
is it?
It's a big perception problem in twofold, and I'll tell you why. One, we've been sold the idea that we don't have the right product,
Okay.
and so we chew, swallow, digest everything that everybody tells us that look, your product is not good enough to sit on the shelf next to where any other creative product will sit. The second part of it is we feel, conversely to the first part, if we feel we have a good product, so good we don't need to sell,
It should sell itself.
and so it should sell itself. But you see, that's the point.
Can you
Like-
imagine?
like
Coca-Cola
no-
still advertising.
like, exactly, like no
It still
brand,
does.
no brand will pay for top shelf priority. Because you know the number of, if you were taking one of those consumer marketing, fast moving consumer goods, for example, they do plenty products. Ask yourself why a particular brand will have 3 variants of milk, say a whole milk, full cream milk, evaporated milk, and still market it differently across 3 different channels, platforms, and everything. It's yours to sell.
because different people like different.
Exactly. Nobody will see it up until you sell it to them.
Yeah.
And just like they were mentioning, I think one thing we erroneously do as well as Ghanaians is over time we've painted some platforms in a capacity where they probably haven't scaled to. No disrespect or no shade to Ghana Party in the Park, but what if, as a business model, they wanted to satisfy Ghanaians and Ghanaians only?
Kwame, you know something that intrigues me.
You know
Something that
there could be
intrigues
that.
me. I ask myself the question most of the time: what is the biggest Ghanaian song that has attained global?
The biggest
Yeah.
In our history? Or in
in the
contemporary
history of
times?
Ghanaian music
Or
in recent times.
All time.
history, or even recent.
That would
Name-
require some research, man.
Name a Ghanaian song by an artist, a band, or whatever, Kofi, that
Crossover.
has
Yeah.
gained the biggest crossover hit.
I mean, in the 70s was obviously one of Osibi's.
Of course.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But was Osibi's a Ghanaian band?
Well, it was.
He usually described as
Well-
as a British band.
Thank you.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. You look them up anywhere and it's described as a British band.
Yes, they were.
Well,
Adonai.
it's because
Oh.
most of them, resided
Exactly.
in the U-
They all
UK, but
resided there.
They were from.
They all
different
resided
places.
there, but different
Exactly.
different
Yeah,
countries.
different
Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
whatever.
But Kwame, again, just
Yeah.
to land, if you are selling something and you are not so confident, just like KOD mentioned, and you don't even know the nuances of your own product you're selling, it's very difficult to sell to the next person. You don't know how it turns like, you don't know how it smells like, you don't know how it burns like. You can't sell it to anybody. That's, almost the bubble where we fall in. And so we fall to everything that comes close that looks like success. Meanwhile, there's a lot of things happening around us. I can tell you on authority, some months ago or a few months ago, maybe Shelley won't be happy to hear this, but she's collected some of the biggest money she has collected in the country.
Who?
Shelley from Magic.
Oh,
you can ask her.
Because
from Aquaba Magic.
Aquaba Magic.
And she's quiet. She's not premiering any movie. She's not premiering any movie in the cinema. And so people would think there's nothing happening with her.
She doesn't need to.
Peter said if you're alike, he has shows on pay TV platforms that are doing so well for him.
Yeah.
Because you don't see, you feel, they are not doing anything.
Why don't we see? Why don't we see?
Ivan.
Are we not supposed to see?
The same.
Yeah.
So there are layers to the conversation. There's a social affinity. There's an association problem. There's a plethora of problems. One of them is the social association, where if it's Ghanaian, it's probably inferior. And so I'd rather take something before I come to the Ghanaian product.
Randy, those productions that you've just mentioned, will any of them cross over?
Has any of them crossed over?
Uncle Ken, even before you land, right? Eno was shot by Shelley from Pomanso for Showmax. It was commissioned for Showmax. I actually worked on the project, and we beat a couple of South African agencies to pitch for that project. That crossed over into the SA market across Showmax. It was part of the top 10 released shows in 2022 with the very, very minimum budget. And I saw the budget, so I could tell you what it looks like.
On Aquaba Magic.
Yeah.
It was on
but
Showmax.
After one season, never came back.
It's season 2 is in the works.
It's been renewed.
Exactly. So there's so many things.
You see my point?
We get where you're coming from.
I watched
Yeah.
Eno. I did watch Eno.
Yeah.
And I loved it. But I'm saying to myself, Eno after one season, and when was Eno first screened?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
So it's actually last year.
Okay.
So I
promotion.
get-
Let's talk about promotion.
Yes, I get what Uncle Ken is saying. It's a heavy packaging problem.
Okay.
It's a heavy packaging problem. We don't have a problem with the product. The packaging gets the fire every time. Because why would anybody go to a mart or a corner shop and pick this product over this product? Sometimes you'd walk into any restaurant and you'd ask for water, and they would give you any water, any brand. You wouldn't flinch.
Yeah.
Contrary to that, you may be driving in traffic and you'd ask for water. They'll give you any brand and you're insistent on a particular brand. Why? Packaging and positioning. That's what largely we're experiencing. That's the great product. And so when people say there's not a lot of great product here, Black Sherif is charting globally.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
Comedy is going all across Africa.
Oh, about
Contemporary
comedy,
arts.
Just about comedy.
The Obi and Ponsa
I'll be
issue?
remiss if yes, is it on the program?
Yes.
Okay.
The visa program.
Yes.
The
No, is it
issue?
on the discussion?
No, okay, you make your
No,
point.
I mean just he talked
Yeah.
about comedy and one
Yeah,
of
well,
our
it's part of
greatest
it,
comedy
yeah.
acts.
Yeah.
Obi
I mean,
Aponsa.
It's part of it.
Talk- yeah, it
Comedy
is.
is part of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. My point, that, like the specific point about Obi and Ponsa struggling to get a visa
Exactly.
to South Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of our most popular comedians in
Why-
contemporary time.
Why is he-
Who
why
has
would he
been
struggle
South
to get-
Africa
Why
two
would he
times.
struggle? Kofi, why?
Who has been to SA
Do
two
you know?
times? He has a show booked this weekend, and it has been hell for him to get a visa.
Kofi, do you know?
He wasn't the- I think-
I know we have not
I think he
signed
had
our,
it
we've not
at the
signed our
11th hour.
part of the
He's had it
package.
11th hour.
He
Where
said he had it, but it was too late for him to go.
I mean, if our biggest in quotes comedy acts can't get a visa to South Africa, what is the worth of our industry?
I'm sure, Chief. I'm sure we don't know what the
Chief,
challenges were.
Yeah,
yeah.
Chief, the
So it'll be,
challenge.
Exactly.
exactly. We don't know what.
Chief, let's dwell on this one. So Randy has spoken about packaging and all that. What do you think we can do to increase that visibility in terms of promotion?
I mean, first of all, even with Afrobeat, right? I mean, for every Burna Boy on the international stage, there are hundreds of Nigerians who are struggling to break even, right? we must also understand the context with which this conversation happens. And I mean, how many South Africans have sold out the O2 in code? How many Somalis have sold out the O2 in code?
This O2
right?
matter.
No, I'm just trying to make a
How many
comparison.
Kenyans?
Yeah, that's what is happening in Nigeria today may be an exception that we shouldn't kill ourselves over. Also because the rise in African culture, and if we are even looking at music today, it's also because of the rise in the African diaspora. We can't run away from that. Anecdotally, if you go to these concerts, let's say a Burna Boy or Wizkid concert, and
And
me,
to me,
I
if
don't
you're
have
feeling
the
low
research,
to
but
Ghanaians, you haven't
anecdotally,
done
I
nothing.
can tell you that about 60 to 70%
It's not
of
something you
this
should
audience
grasp.
will be Nigerian. Anecdotally, and that is because over the years, over the past decade, there's been a consistent rise in the African diaspora. Some of them recently migrated, some of them first generation, migrants in these countries with an economic might. So from all statistics, or at least from all research, the rise in African diaspora, if you read all the articles that come out in our music and art and everything, they'll tell you that the rise in the African diaspora has been instrumental in the rise in popularity of these concerts, of this African culture in these markets. So if statistically most of the people in these countries, the higher population, because I'm sure that there are more, let's say, Nigerians in London, for example, than you find Ghanaians. So statistically, if there are more Nigerians in London than Ghanaians, if a big heavyweight Nigerian artist is headlining in Nigeria, then you may expect that you would have more Nigerians. So we should also have the context of this conversation. Afrobeat is growing.
The
Remember
numbers
that,
game
yes,
still
Afrobeat
holds
has not
true?
peaked there too. Afrobeat has not peaked. Afrobeat has not really crossed over. What is happening now is that there is an orientation of the African sound through Afrobeat to a wider population in the West. I mean, if we are using the West as a benchmark. But as to whether you go to an Afrobeat concert and you may find 50% or 60% are non-Africans or non-black people, not yet. So Afrobeat in and of itself is still breaking the boundaries. That's why when they get any laurels, or they've dominated the chart, like I saw something, Burna Boy first African, something UK chart. So even Afrobeat itself has not even reached its crescendo. So my point is that we can also run away from the geographical reality. The fact that majority of the African diaspora who are engaged are Nigerians, for me, it makes sense that their biggest acts will get the biggest audience from them. So if we're having this conversation, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is that, are we trying to, first of all, maximize the African diaspora audience, or we are really looking for a true crossover? Because if we are looking for a true crossover where non-Africans are engaging with our content, then we already have examples. We've talked about the Fras, we've talked about the JD Blair Ambles, we've talked about the FCO M Boys. What is the formula they are using? Their music is considered niche, but minority, right? They are in the minority, but at least they are there, and people are engaging their songs. So when you go to these festivals, you realize the majority are not even African. In fact, the Ghanaians or the Africans may even not turn up for their concerts. Right? They may not turn up for their concert, but they're getting the foreign audience. So again, what is it that we want? Is it that we are looking for, in quote, European Caucasian audiences, or we want to mop up?
Sorry about this. Some of these gigs, like the ones you're mentioning, the ones with the alternative musicians, in terms of numbers, I don't have an idea. Kwame, if you do, please share with us. If we hear of a sold-out show at the O2 or any other place, O2 for me should not be the yardstick, really. At any Wembley Stadium, wherever, we have a fair idea of how much the musician is making. But on some of these platforms where you find our alternative musicians, they are not the headliners.
Fair.
They're only there as, one of the musicians or one of the bands playing.
It's not usually their own programs.
It's usually not their own. Exactly.
Fair enough.
That's also one thing that we need
fair
to
enough.
look at.
To land on my point, I guess I was making the point that, first of all, just from a marketing point of view, we need to know who is our primary audience. If our primary audience are the African diaspora, then you know that your marketing must speak to that primary audience. And I'm also saying that there's just a statistical reality, and that statistical reality is that there's a higher percentage of Nigerian African diasporans who would gravitate more towards their music. That's one statistical reality. So if we think that we want to eat into that Nigerian market, because it's a huge market, then what are we doing it with our music to appeal to them? Do we want to kowtow to that much? Because we know that Nigerians are doing it. And there's a lot of Nigerian music with Odo and Banku and all of that, because they want want to relate,
talk.
right?
But the question is,
Yes.
there are so many other countries. Must it be the target? I'm just
Yeah, that's my
wondering
point.
how-
So we have to.
We have other countries.
Because
we have Togo. We have Kenya.
But
we have,
the
No,
Nigerians
Kwame,
have
you know,
demonstrated.
the Nigerians are the ones making waves,
Yes.
not just in Africa, but across the world.
Yes, across
Every
the world.
country. You just came back. What did you hear? When you were out there, what did you hear?
Nigerian music.
Yeah, Kwame. And again,
Nigerian music. Yes.
that we liken ourselves to Nigeria because we are the two nations that speak English.
But can't we win ourselves of that and still get there?
Look, Kwame, let me
So-
end on my point. A rising tide lifts all boats. I've said on this show that the momentum that is being enjoyed by Nigerian music scene is actually rubbing off some of our
Yeah, it
musicians
should.
anyways.
Yeah.
Because it is about making the world more acclimatized to our sound, whatever
sound.
that sound is. And if the argument is that the iteration of Afrobeats today can, source itself from Ghana, High Life, and all of that,
Yeah.
Afrobeat is also our own. We can't
it
run
is.
away
I mean,
from
it
it,
is.
right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
a-
yes.
a rising tide lifts all boats. Right now, yes, there's a momentum to a particular breed, but that doesn't mean that we haven't seen Ghanaians break through, right? Cream Promise in his Terminator is making the round.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem is that we haven't had as much consistent hits. But it's not that we have not had hits at all. We've had hits that have made the rounds.
But-
I mean, look at this guy who did this.
And Chief, mentioning Kim Promise for the height he's attained right now, he should be very visible. Like be on almost every Pan-African platform.
And it brings me to the point I was going to make, because we've
The
also
West
heard that there's a
African
lot of
countries.
money
Yeah, how many-
or there's a lot of investment in the Nigerian industry.
Let
that
me
you
let me
don't-
give you a
That's what we
typical
do.
example. Someone we've not mentioned in this conversation. One of the owners of Afro Nation. His name is Smade.
Smade.
Yeah.
Now Smade is Nigerian.
Yeah.
Hello, will he promote any
And his
Ghanaian
partner,
mother? No,
Obi
he's
also
our guy.
Nigerian.
I mean, he's our friend, but really, he would never promote a Ghanaian better than he would a
just
Nigerian.
But are you sure? But if the
Kwame-
Ghanaian is hitting and has
No,
the
no, no, no.
dreams,
Kwame,
because
so-
it's a business as well, right?
Yes.
I mean, they brought Afro Nation to Ghana before they are taking it to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
So-
it's not exactly a patriotic act. I think
So-
that at the end of
And
the day,
he
it's the
builds like
business.
Ghanaian acts on his.
Yes,
Yeah.
No,
so I
so,
think
so,
that
so,
shows-
Kwame, before anything else, or Chief, you wanted to land, you can, and then I'll come in.
Yeah, he's not landed yet.
Yes,
He
I
has
haven't-
landed.
Yes, let me
He
land on
has
the let me land on the notes that there's currently an exhibition going on. There was a photography exhibition by some Ghanaian photographer. And yes, I haven't talked about photographers. I knew that. was
Actually, I'm
something.
thinking that.
Nigerian
That's my
photographers
area as
have
well.
also-
So
I mean, there are a lot of good Ghanaian photographers who are doing a lot of work internationally that we also have to salute. I mean, from the top of my mind, I see this guy at many spaces that we don't even know. He's called Aboya. Do you know Aboya? Michael Aboya. You know,
Yeah.
recently he was at the Sharjah Biennial or something. He had one of his paintings bought by the Royal family. I met him at Expo Dubai, some of the big platforms. So when it comes to photography, and of course the big guys like Yao Pare and the guys who did the book and the other one. So when it comes to photography, to salute to our photographers, and they are the ones who actually was telling the story, because photography is visual storytelling, and these musicians are all also using their works. But to conclude, every time Akufo-Addo speaks on an international platform, speaks impeccably, the Nigerians will say, "See president," and they will use Akufo-Addo to also, ridicule, especially when Buhari was in power, right? So there are also things that is working for us that if you go to Nigerian social media
Chief,
today, they will say Ghanaians are doing better
mentioning
in that way.
Akufo-Addo also reminds me of something that we've not mentioned in this whole conversation about being intentional about promoting our music.
Yeah.
I was in South Africa when they had the first Global Citizens concert. I was angry. I was so angry. Nana Akufo-Addo was one of the few presidents on that platform.
was there.
We did not have a single Ghanaian musician. I'm like, hello, who's opening the doors for us? I was angry. I was angry.
But
Listen,
Kofi, why were you angry?
hello, who chose the musician? Listen. No, uncle.
Who chose?
But
the
later
musician?
we had it in Ghana and we had our
This is where we
artists
have
on
to be
stage.
very intentional about what we do. The word is intentional. Uncle, listen. When Kamala Amashanti,
Harris.
I have to slow down with that
Oh,
one.
boy,
Amashanti.
So that you don't say Harris.
You can say that how we had a Did you see that image highly inflammable?
When she came to Ghana, she came with who? Spike Lee.
Spike, yeah.
Well, was he here just to document her trip to
A
Ghana?
lot of actually creative acts.
Creative acts.
When President Bush came to Ghana before we got that money to construct the highway, he came with Jordan
Sparks. Was
Yeah.
it
So,
Was
Kofi,
it
what's
Bush?
your point?
I think so. What I'm trying to say is
That when Nana Akufo-Addo,
Who does he go with?
Why do they go with these creatives?
So you mean that's another way we can promote
is.
our art?
So
Kwame,
when Nana
It is.
Akufo-Addo went,
Kwame,
Yeah, and it was a very a purely musical platform.
Yes.
It was a creative.
was
art
he
platform.
invited or he was
Maybe as
the
a
organizer?
could have asked. Do you have any?
Maybe he
Ghanaian
could have
on the list?
proposed.
You know, he could have.
I mean,
Because the
so-
Kamala Harris
so-
team he mentions, they came from the States. They had their own
No, but
organization.
I think that KOD's
Well,
point is very
yes.
relevant.
Yes.
How?
Listen, Osibisa made
I
a
think we
big-
had that discussion here some
one
time
of the
ago.
things that got Osibisa out there, one of the things that got Saint Osei, one of the finest fashion designers from Africa, Reggie's father. It was a thing of being intentional. Kwame Nkrumah didn't just sell our country.
Moving our bands around.
We had bands around. E.T. Mensah gave
Kim
Credence
Bruce.
and Kim Bruce and all these guys.
Yeah.
They gave so much
Yeah.
reverence and respect to Kwame Nkrumah for what he did with the creative arts. It was an intentional thing. It wasn't just
Right.
Ghana
It was.
spearheading
It
the
was.
liberation of
It was.
Africa.
It
Our
was.
music was part of it.
It
So
was.
we can't be out there. People are coming to Ghana from different parts of the world. Kwame, you just got back. Every country you go to, there are two, maybe three things you buy. You buy art from that country. I do that everywhere I go to.
Yeah.
You buy music from that country and clothes. Everyone that goes to Dubai, they wear the Mambu Jalabi
Exactly.
and the Meboa. I
Exactly.
just saw George Quay there.
Yeah.
You understand?
Kwame doesn't have art
intentional-
money.
How intentional
Relax.
How intentional are we about getting export promotion council out there, selling Ghana and going with our musicians? How many times have we
I
seen
think KOD is
Ghanaian-
making a very good point.
Yeah, how many times have we seen our
Our
Ghanaian
musicians,
musicians?
our poets.
The
you know?
Kwame
Yeah.
Nkrumah
Okay.
you mentioned.
Let me
So,
take Randy. I think Randy.
Kwame,
The Kwame
wants to
Nkrumah
ask
you
something.
mentioned brought Louis Armstrong to Ghana.
Exactly.
So Kwame,
Yeah.
Kwame, I think excellence requires preparedness, right? And just as they mentioned, the bands they mentioned, the talents they mentioned, had one thing in common. They gave the president at the time, or whoever was sending them out of the country, something to work with. In the case of Global Citizen in 2018, when it launched in South Africa for the first time in Africa, having worked on the project last year, Social Director for Africa, I sort of got an in into how all of these dealings worked, especially with Global Citizen. Now, I give you an example where I was in one of the hotels meeting the head of talent, for Global Citizen, and a Ghanaian presenter, female, walks up to the Ghanaian talent. I'm sure they probably had, prior conversations whatsoever, but she walks up to the guy. Hi, I hear you're looking for me. Very, very, very affable personality. I hear you're looking for me. The guy actually wasn't looking for her. He was considering talking to her. And so the guy walks up to me, guy, you're in the country, you're in the market, you understand these things better. Who do you think we should reach out to? I'm like, guy, the person is right in front of you. I mean, she's one of the options, but she's reaching out. Next thing she does, she pulls up her phone. So I've done this, done that. The guy's like, why aren't we talking to this person again?
Please, when next will you be at the hotel
Kwame,
lobby?
so opportunity meets preparedness. Imagine the person came to the table. Oh, I deserve to be there because apparently I'm the best in Ghana. Who says that? On what basis? On what metrics? And you probably would know. That's Bella Mundi. She happened to be on the Paris show.
Yeah.
She happened to be on the Paris show. That's proactiveness. Because after that, I had personal conversations with the talent director. He told me, I think I like a couple of talents in Ghana. Contrary to what people say, there's some people who reached out to me and want to be there. Some artists were reached out to for the launch, for the event. They never showed up. They never reached back to the team. Oh, it's this, that, and that. And even just as KOD was mentioning, I mean, policy is great. But if you're not giving whoever is rooting for you something to work with, it's like fighting for, the weakest person in the room. Because you would go and they'll floor you.
Chief, I was in the audience, Charlie, our president, once he speaks, everyone's listening and applauding. And I'm seeing like 4 acts, the essay one, I'm seeing like 4 acts from Nigeria, the essay people. And, the Ghanaian community within that audience, it was us and some Nigerian, like, stars.
Yeah.
Charlie!
But
And we're in charge of the audience, we're charging the audience.
Kwame,
There was no Ghanaian acts.
Kofi,
Yeah.
who was
Coming to
supposed to
that.
have
And Kwame, I was coming to
supposed to
that.
have added a Ghanaian
No,
act?
we did not know that that there was anything like that happening.
Exactly.
No, listen, no, hold on.
Okay, we're still here on Joy 99.7 FM, and we're having a great discussion in here. You know, promoting Ghanaian arts on the global markets. Yeah, I love the conversation. I love how heated it is right now. KOD is in here, Uncle Ken, Randy Walker, Chief Moomin. You can also call in right now and share your opinion with us. How can we best promote Ghanaian arts on the global markets so that we become more visible? The line to call is 030-2216-541. 030-2216-541. Do call us right now. In the meantime, though, KOD.
I am surprised that you have sat here all afternoon and you have not mentioned fashion.
I know. You know,
We are not done yet.
I know. I mean, I think I mentioned fashion at some point.
No, I haven't heard you mention fashion.
I did. But thing is,
Because
you know, you know, the foundation for me is music, even before radio. For me, the foundation
right.
is
I know that. But
Kwame,
right
just
now,
to, just to answer the global citizen question,
You were not done.
I wasn't done.
He wasn't done.
I was getting into
Let
the
Kofi
global
answer
Then
citizen
please
question
land in 1 minute.
quickly. Yes. So, you know, when the policy gets into the room, some of these, conversations are not patriotic.
Oh,
It's
okay.
business. It doesn't matter if it's happening in South Africa. D'banj was there. Wizkid was there. And a
yeah,
couple
but
of
you know, at the time,
talents
D'banj's music was not one of.
Exactly, but
He was
tell you
not-
what,
he was
but tell
done.
you what, on the continent, you wouldn't mention any biggest entertainer
without
than D'banj.
mentioning D'banj.
So these are the kind of considerations they're making in those arguments.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, okay, we have 2 hours to produce a show for TV. Who do we take out who will give us the experience we're looking for?
Right.
And so if I'm looking for this guy who can give me this kind of experience, and you can give me, you can play second fiddle to that guy, I'm dropping you for that guy. It's not it's not sensational.
But I think
It's-
KOD's
Bro, you're
point
not
also
getting-
holds
it's a
that.
no-brainer.
Still,
It's
the
a
fact
no-brainer.
that
It's
Like
a
we
no-brainer.
had just
Who
two
did we have
presidents.
there?
We had only 2 presidents from Africa on that platform.
Right.
It was our own president and that of South Africa.
Right.
Do you understand? But in terms of music, we had about 3 from SA, 4 or 5 from Nigeria. Oprah Winfrey. There
Who was from Ghana?
So
President Nana Akufo-Addo
Kwame,
represented
finally.
all of
No,
us.
no, musician.
Kwame, finally, right? Finally.
I was angry.
Okay, finally.
I see why
So-
you're angry.
I was angry.
Just as he mentioned,
Yeah.
what if they got to that level and then conversation came to, it's a South African audience.
Okay.
And let's keep it a buck.
Maybe
Hello,
he
it wasn't
pushed
like-
for it.
Let's keep it a buck. Every other
Kofi,
how
that's
many of our
important too.
talents?
I
So
know.
That's another thing
Yeah,
we
listen,
can consider.
yes,
there were certain musicians on that platform who
It's
were not
important.
known
It's another
by those of us
possibility.
from West Africa.
so
and we were
before-
hanging with the Nigerians.
No, Randy is right. It's
So
important.
Kwame, once some of these talents are built, there's so many factors you're looking for. Some people are bringing first time in market experience. Some people are bringing
Listen, Kwame,
proximity.
hold on. Listen, there's also, it was an international platform.
Correct.
If there was-
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if there was a Ghanaian on,
Agree.
hello, you
But
also want
KOD,
Ghanaians to appreciate what's happening there.
But are we saying-
was it meant to be for only, the
but-
Nigerians?
But are we
South
saying
Africans,
that
the
our
Americans,
president
Beyonce and
had that
Jay-Z
power
were-
to decide?
No.
He could only
No,
propose.
that's
he
not what I'm
did
saying.
it.
I'm talking about
That's not what
lobbying
he's
here.
saying.
Lobbying.
He could only
No, but
propose.
Kofi,
Propose, of course. Well, why would you?
And if,
be-
Who
and,
were the
and if he was
organizers of
turned
the
down,
show?
and if he was turned down, he
who
couldn't do
were the
anything about it.
organizers of the show?
Charlie, if they turn them down, what was Nana
Kofi,
Akufo-Addo going to
who
do?
were the organizers?
What was Nana
Yes.
Akufo-Addo going to
Do you
do
know
there?
the
If they
number
were-
of
they were
Kwame, do you know-
turning
So,
us-
so he shouldn't have gone if he was
No,
turned
I
down.
mean, he was there as the president from Ghana.
Kwame.
Come on. It was a
People were-
musical concert.
I get you.
People were reached out to. I can tell you for a fact. People were reached out
Were you
to.
working with them then?
Similarly, no, because I got the info when I started working with them last year. They told me people were, so I asked.
Please, get me some names.
Yeah.
No, come on. I mean, it's not a big deal.
I mean, not on air.
Oh,
but
no,
I'll tell you a
on air.
couple.
Like who? Like
So
who?
I reached out to the guy. He
I don't
tells
think there's
me-
a single Ghanaian
So
musician
at
who
the
would not
time-
want to be on global.
No,
Citizen.
it
I
wasn't
don't
a
think
thing.
So.
So it wasn't a thing of wanting to be on.
Yeah.
It was a thing of
Who are the hits?
Okay, now the guys in the room. How do we get them past our bankrollers? It's going to stand in front of the guys at the top to explain that this is why I'm putting a Sarkodie up against Rihanna.
Can you
Right.
imagine Sarkodie on that platform?
Yeah.
It would have been
Yeah.
beautiful. But thing
For
again
us.
is
For us.
exactly. But thing again is capacity, scalability. How many of our talents locally? Let's be very honest here.
Yeah, I
when
agree
they
with
got
you.
into that room at the South African level, could say, okay, we were there. Maybe the closest you could have mentioned was Stoneboy at the time, because Stoneboy had gone into the Mamas. He was the darling boy, literally, of MTV and Viacom. So at the time, he was literally planted into their ecosystem there. He could have been reached out to, you know. But beyond these things, there's so many factors that come to play than just wanting the Ghanaian to be on the platform.
Exactly.
And again, the president could mention.
That's where I go with the word intentional. Again,
Exactly.
No, I totally agree with KOD's point.
Exactly.
Policy is great.
I have a text message to back your
Okay.
point, right? So this is an important from one of my people. I'll just read it, right? I'll say I'm listening to you on Joy. There is IATF International African Trade Fair 2023 organized by Afrexim Bank in Cairo this year. GEPA is mobilizing to be there. There is usually a showcase of creatives on that platform, and they never show up with any representation from poetry, music, nor film. I get the impression that Ghana Tourism Authority or the Ministry of Tourism is either not aware of this, resourced for this, interested enough to want to have Ghana showcase or on some of these platforms, or don't consider the platform big enough for Ghana. So the point is that there are a lot of conferences, opportunities that happens around the world where there are cultural opportunities to plug in, but usually our state apparatus is not always very deliberate in taking advantage of these platforms.
I mean, that's the word. Deliberate, intentional,
being intentional. So I think that's point.
Didn't
Okay.
we see
That is a good
Ghana
point,
Expo?
well
Was it Ghana
made.
Expo? Yofi Grant, where does he head again?
The GIPC.
Extra promotion. Extra
GIPC.
promotion.
They were in the Caribbean some months ago.
Yeah.
Come on.
So
What happened to our music? What happened to our creatives?
Kwame.
What happened to, even if you're not able to pay our A-listers, people will still appreciate someone like a Wiala on any given day. You can put Wiala anywhere. Anywhere. You don't have to appreciate or even know what she's talking about
Even
or what
Kenya
she's
is
singing
about.
about.
Yeah.
Any stage, the girl gets on, you're appreciating her. You'd give her the same reverence you'd give Angelique Kidjo.
Yeah.
Kwame,
The
let
only
me-
difference would be, oh, Angelique, I know her name. But Wiala would give you that same energy, that same performance, that
She
same
also performs in
creativity,
a dialect.
everything.
Kwame,
She
let me ask you-
performs
okay.
mostly
Let me
in
ask
a
you short
dialect
question.
that you
Just a
don't
question.
understand.
You're asking the question?
Just a question. So intent is great, but let's take the conversation out of this context. If you met a lady walking the road and
Hey, don't
you
be
liked
like
her,
that COP.
right? You liked her, and your intent is that, oh, I like this girl, and you don't approach her to tell her what exactly
You
you're
have to be
feeling.
intentional to tell her.
No, if your intent is, oh yeah, I like this girl, I'd approach it. But if you don't prove a point as to why she should pick you over, all the guys have intents about her.
I think it's in tandem with what Cody's saying.
It's the same
So that
thing.
if the powers that be, if they go rep us elsewhere,
That's
they
the
should
first
also
step.
make the
That's
No,
the
but
first
Kwame,
step.
are those
But when it
powers
gets
that
into the
be
room,
Yes.
given the chance to introduce artists
Kwame, the
on
easiest thing is getting into the room.
You know, these
They're invited,
these
but they
powers,
are not given the chance to introduce.
these powers we're talking about. Now, the other interesting thing about most of them is that they all have creative backgrounds.
Yes.
Chief, you know this. They
But
all
are they
have
asked?
creative
Are they
backgrounds.
asked to introduce an artist from their countries?
But if you're going to sell Ghana as a country,
Are they asked?
if you're selling Ghana as a country and you're exporting Ghana, let me use the word exporting Ghana. How can you sell a country without the creative
No,
aspect
but,
of it?
but if you invite the president of a nation. And you do not
To a
intention
to
hold
a
on,
creative
to a,
event.
a creative event, and
by
you
the
do
way, I know
not
this guy.
and you do not intentionally
see-
ask him.
Yeah, I want to talk about we poets so that I don't sound
even if our boys are not
self-serving.
going to
All
perform,
right.
yeah, you could decide that you are going with them just for the experience. I'm randomly choosing 5 Ghanaian acts. I'm going to global citizen, whatever. The minister of tourism. I'm the president of the country.
Yeah, side
I'm
events.
going to a creative event somewhere in the world. I want to take 5 creatives. They should even belong to my party, my NDC or MPP people. They should come along.
I think
There's a
that's
trickle down effect. Once someone makes it doesn't matter where they belong or who they support. It's going to trickle down to the rest of us.
So far as the person is talented, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, not like the Sudanese runner that they took who had nothing to do with the sport. I think that
Cody is making.
Yeah, yes, and I want to
arguments.
highlight it that sometimes some of these things we have to be able to bring our people's attention to it. That look, the
Which
state
people?
machinery is a powerful machinery.
It is.
And that if the state can be more intentional in promoting Ghanaian talent on platforms, it will go a long way to help the industry. Look, whether you like or not, look, the president has a huge itinerary. Ministers of state, they are doing all of these road shows that they go to. If we are thinking about the creative industry, if we are thinking about the fashion, the music, the poetry, the theater industry, I think that there are a lot of opportunities that they can open up, for a lot of people using the state apparatus. There are some opportunities like the Cynthia just sent me. Some of them are direct. Some of these big conferences they go, they always have side events. Some of them, they have side cultural events that you can plug into, that you can sponsor your own artists and bring them. But there are also programs that you can leverage those platforms. So the point we're just making here is that we should have our state apparatus more in tune and more, more deliberate about platforming, our potential, our arts, and our creative talent on international platforms. They do that with the business leaders. When the president is traveling, usually he travels with an entourage. They'll bring. There are times I've even seen a Kwiadonko.
She's a politician.
That is deliberate. Before they move from the country,
yes,
the president knows that I am traveling with this entourage.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That involves businessmen.
No.
Everything has been planned for the businessmen to get engaged in certain activities when they get where they are going.
Yes. So my point.
And my argument is, with the music and the
creative.
No,
and the creative.
Yes.
Hold on. Who organizes the trip? Those people who organize the trip, have they incorporated you bringing an artist in to perform?
Exactly.
Yeah, but you can.
But
say,
can't we propose that we want to come with them?
Let me give an example.
I want to come with
I just
them.
want to give a
practical example.
If it's a business trip, it's totally different.
Yes.
But we're actually underlining creative events.
Yeah,
if it's a creative event and you don't have creatives there, Charlie, what?
Let me give a practical example. Let's say that the president has been invited, let's say for a state visit to any country, let's say the United States, for example, right? An official state visit where they will host a dinner in his honor and all of that. There is nothing that prevents the protocol office to say that as part of coming, we want to come with a Ghanaian poet or a Ghanaian musician to be part.
allowed to perform?
Yes! You have been a state visit in your honor.
Uncle Ken, yes!
Uncle Ken, a state dinner in your honor. Let's say that I even want to bring, let's even
Uncle
forget
Ken,
about
yes.
the poet. Uncle Ken, let's say we want to bring a revered Ghanaian musicologist or something.
All right, Joe 99.7 FM. We're still right here talking about promoting Ghanaian arts on the global market.
Point you are making, Uncle Ken. We're not saying take the person at the blind
But
side
if you
of the
just take
people.
the person
Oh,
and
no. How do you can't do that?
Okay.
You can't be the
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the point I'm making.
So I think we are basically saying the same thing.
so we should
We want the powers that be to be deliberate, intentional about these things.
to leverage
We're
platforms.
speaking the same language.
The conference or whatever have to agree
Kwame, can I add
before
Kwame,
you do
Kwame,
it.
can I add
If
something to
they
what
agree,
Uncle Ken is
there's
saying?
no problem.
Exactly.
Kwame,
Whether they agree or not, they need to
Hey,
make a move.
don't say no, not.
Kwame.
They have to agree.
Kwame. So here's the thing. So
Yes.
again, policy is great. Representation is spectacular, right? But once you get into that room, it's your word against whatever is happening on the other side. If you suggest Chief Moomin to, the inaugural service of, the president arriving at a country, you go do all the appellations, do all the things and everything. Will the people actually want that? You can suggest, nobody, takes you down for that. You can go to whatever extent you want to go to. He can suggest as many names as he wants to. Bottom line is, what will get the pass? If you get the pass, fine.
Fair enough.
But there is no harm in trying.
No problem
That's
there.
not the problem. You
If
see,
you
Kwame,
get the pass,
getting
no
into the
problem.
room.
I just got this
Kwame,
flashback
getting
of-
into the
I just got this
room.
flashback of Archbishop Duncan William praying at the inauguration of, was it President Trump?
Right, Trump.
Yeah.
Like, how did it happen?
So
Do you
Kwame,
know?
No, there was a plugin.
No, do you know?
I know there was a plugin.
but exactly,
Okay,
it
there
shows
was-
that.
there was a plugin.
And the plugin was
You understand?
accepted.
Whoever did that was intentional.
the
There was a
plugin-
So no, Kwame.
Exactly.
What we are, no,
And the
we are not.
plugin
So
was
Kwame, we're
accepted.
not debating the intentionality part of it.
No,
What
that's
we
not
are
what we are
But that's
saying
the crux of the matter.
No, what we're saying is, Kwame, at the height of intentionality,
Yes.
is approval.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you don't
But
get
it comes
the
back to the
approval,
same thing.
Randy Uncle Kem,
It comes back to the
relax,
same thing.
Relax. You see,
Intentionality,
we're
that is
not
the basis
picking
of all
things
we're
out of
talking
the blue. We are saying that in the planning process, there's a lot of engagement.
Yes.
On,
Right.
for example, a president's itinerary.
Right.
And a state banquet, usually there's a cultural platform. So
Right.
they will even bring people from the
Agreed.
country to perform. So we're saying that on such platforms, it is not out of order for the protocol to suggest that we are bringing a revered artist, musician, whatever, anything
Listen,
that we want to
I just got this other flashback of President Akufo-Addo in, was it China, where we saw the Chinese kids sing "Oye, Oye,
Yeah,
Oye."
yeah,
Yes.
We were all laughing, right? That could have been a Ghanaian musician
Kwame,
out there.
Kwame,
Right?
Kwame, let me ask you a very let me ask you a question,
Beyond the
right?
presidency, there are a lot of opportunities. That's why I use the word state apparatus.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of international conferences that we spend a lot of resources to go. And usually, what are the results? Art is about exposure. That's one of the biggest things you can do for art.
All right.
So we're saying that the state apparatus must be intentional about leveraging international platforms to expose our art and our artists.
I think we should move
And
away
that's
from
as simple
this.
as that.
This
We're not
particular
saying we should
angle. We've-
superimpose ourselves on people, but let's be strategic, intentional in curating the platforms that will make our people go global. But let me say, it's very important to end that we're not even waiting for the state apparatus to do that. There are a lot of artists who are creating their own path for
Already.
themselves. But if the state were more proactive, it will create more opportunities. But beyond that, we are working. We're not waiting for
Keep
handouts.
working.
We're
There is
working.
this.
Right,
There is
so-
this. Okay, let me raise this issue. So we've heard some people say that there are some Nigerian, big wigs, if you like, who are pulling some strings to silence Ghanaian arts on the international market. I don't know. I don't know how you see this, because we've heard people on a number of occasions say that there are some Nigerians even on the online platforms who are manipulating things against Ghanaian creatives. Could this be true?
There are things
We've
we've not exhausted certain elements of that conversation.
Yeah.
You know-
Also, you move on.
Oh no!
The first
Kwame.
one-
Hold on.
No,
Let's
no, but-
let's
but
just
Kewadi-
digress a bit and tackle
Kewadi,
that right
Kewadi,
now. Real fast,
I think we all
Kwame.
agree,
Just 2 seconds.
We
2
all
seconds.
agree with the fact that
Kwame,
the intentionality is what we need.
Kwame,
Kewadi, the
intentionality.
intentionality.
So
So you bring in that when you are wrapping
I'll
up.
still bring
totally.
intentionality
Yes.
still.
Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about this one. I don't know if there are other people outside,
Sure.
elsewhere, who are trying to maybe, pull back Ghanaian arts.
No,
Sure,
but Kwame, if
sure.
you mention
Pull
Nigerians,
back.
what do you expect them to do?
So
Hail
Kwame,
you.
Because we saw that
Kwame.
message from Stoneboy's root manager,
Yes.
to Styles.
Do you expect the Nigerians to hail you other than themselves?
They won't, no, they
so
won't.
Kwame, I think contrary to what people have held as the notion in the market, having again worked with some of these people, because you mentioned, Stumber's manager or part of his team reached out and mentioned how he was, unfortunately treated by some Nigerian, and I worked with the Event Horizon team from the UK, worked with some of them from Nigeria, and you would understand how some of these people work. At the height of everything they're doing is excellence, right? And that's why Stoneboy has been one of the consistent Ghanaians on every one of their shows. I can mention only 2 shows ever since Event Horizon shot up into the limelight here. Stoneboy hasn't been a part of. Probably Afro Nation in Puerto Rico, and another one which he couldn't make because of a tour or some other reason which he cancelled. But every other show Stoneboy was a part of, including the Yam Carnival, which Event Horizon organizes in the UK as an extension of Nigerian culture. Did they complain Stoneboy was on the program? No, it's because Stoneboy's excellence and his craftsmanship met whoever was there giving opportunity at the time. And so there could be whatever people are talking about. It might be true. I obviously wouldn't be there and privy to all these things that people are talking about. They're experiencing them, so they'll be better positioned to say some of these things. But again, the Ghanaian trust the Ghanaian to, misconstrue some of the things that come to them and quickly jump to play the victim. Because already we're almost down. That's how we see ourselves. we think we're the novices in the room, and so anything that happens, it's up against us. Everybody's out to eat us. That's not what is happening. Kwame, a major part of why Afro Nation left Ghana is because of a Ghanaian.
Have they left?
I thought they.
Afro Nation is in Nigeria this
Yeah, we
December.
know they're going.
The
but
Minister of
it doesn't
Tourism
mean they're
says
really
they are
coming. That's what we
talking.
heard.
Yeah, they're coming.
So Kwame,
But where are they now?
Well, I mean, we know they're going to Nigeria.
Exactly.
Kwame,
But we
I
don't have a communique of a date in
I
Ghana.
wouldn't want to go into details. But
Please go, I'm
they are in
interested.
Nigeria
Let me
this.
ask
They,
Smith.
they are in Nigeria this December, and a crucial part of why they are there.
Why would they go to Nigeria in December when Nigeria is
So
coming to Ghana?
here's
in
the thing.
December?
No. So here's the argument. Let me make a very simple argument. Where is the home of Afrobeats today? He would argue, but it's one place. Take out the security and everything. It's cheaper. It's
Which place?
easier.
Which place?
It's Nigeria.
Thank you.
It's
Say it.
cheaper. It's easier. The taste of consumption resides in Lagos, and the people have spending power to back their tastes.
Spending power.
Do you get it? And so Kwame, taking this as a business decision becomes very, very easy. There were conversations I had when Afro Nation was coming into town where brands didn't understand so much the scale they wanted to do it at. And so when they had conversations with them, we can't do this and jump on because we don't understand. Guess what? They are going into Nigeria. They haven't announced a lineup, but I can tell you there are people in the back pulling individual plugs because they know the potential that's coming into the country. And so they want a bite of the pie earlier than the actual bigger markets jumps on it. Kwame, this is nobody's fault. It's intrinsic. You can't tell me if we're all craving excellence and we're in any structure, and the formats of operation are such that you have to deliver. You don't have to go around it. Deliver, and that's just it. Will we meet the criteria? You ask yourself. There's the Kim Promises, there's the Jackies, who also have been on the same shows. We heard about, some incident happening to Jackie's manager sometime in Portugal on the same platform. But why are they consistently going back to these platforms? Is it that they like the violence? There could be something there. And because of their representation, it looks like they've been painted. It looks like the Ghana man has been painted in a certain light. I mean, look, Kwame, if you're having a festival...
In what light?
In a derogatory light. If you're having a festival in Ghana, we had this, 2021, I happened to work closely with Sadiq on Wilderland.
Hey, Charlie, if you've worked on things, so.
when we announced...
He's intentional.
So when we... Thank you, KOD. So when we announced the talent lineup, we happened to go through the back end, saw the tickets response and the habits, how many people were buying, who they were buying, where they were buying from, and we announced a couple of Ghanaian and Nigerian talents together. People came into our mentions, people reaching out, why are you not putting your Ghana people on? Why? We platform a lot of Ghanaians, and Chief, in a month we sold less than we sold in a week when we had announced artists that were not Ghanaian. So as a businessman that has collected money from an investor, sitting waiting for their ROI, and you tell me that I should come and put the Ghanaian there for Ghanaian's sake, it's a difficult problem.
On anyway, I mean,
no, we did put them
Yes.
because those people that were put on were people who could give us the value we're looking for. And so if you can't meet the value or the preparedness you're talking about, today I can sit here and say, okay, before KOD walks out of the room, I want to host the VGMS next year. KOD has done it for how many years? And so I'd go, KOD will walk with me, not cap in hand, but you go tell whoever's producing the show, here's my guy, put him on the show next. That's intentionality. And that's a step to getting whatever happened approved. But when it gets
an
there,
example or is also an example?
It could be done.
so
Not a bad
I
thing at
actually
all.
am interested.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Kwame, no, I don't know.
Let's start you at the red
Chief,
carpet.
Chief,
Yeah.
Randy,
Thank you, sir.
Randy,
Yeah.
you spoke
That's okay.
about Wilderland and having been involved with Sadiq.
Okay, when you finish, I want to say
at the
something in your
oh,
favor.
Jawasem. Is there going to be a Wilderland this year?
Sadiq
Okay.
mentioned earlier
I think
today.
there's been
so
a
I'm sure-
communique.
Yeah.
Are you still in
In
that?
due time,
It's not. No.
in due time, I'm sure the
Oh,
communication
okay.
will
I
come
think it
out
was
and,
more of the other one.
That's film
Yeah,
music.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
music
yeah.
awards.
No,
Yeah.
Kwame,
I'm talking while
Kwame, I
Not
just
yet, not yet.
Kwame, Uncle Ken. I don't think that they know that you are a member of the House of Saxe Coburg and Gotha. Do you know what that is?
Who?
No, I know Uncle Ken knows. I'm talking to the rest of you.
Who is?
Uncle Ken. He's a member of the House of Saxe Coburg and Gotha.
And what's that?
So they are one of the ruling families of royalty in Europe. So the current House of Windsor, they were actually the House of Saxe Coburg and Gotha. Why am I getting onto this, right? Uncle Ken, as you know, is a gentleman. And a gentleman of that stock relishes their tea. Every day when we come, you give us serious. Uncle Ken and I, we don't drink. So I'm using this to tell your producer that let's have a pot of tea.
Thank you very much.
Especially on this occasion.
Thank you very much.
That we...
My oh my, Joe 99.7 FM. Getting interesting in here. Well, I have KOD, Uncle Ken, Randy Walker, and Chief Moomin right here. And we're talking about promoting Ghanaian arts on the global market. It's been very hot in here. But MTN has a message for you. Have you ever wondered how to subscribe to a particular MTN service and how to view out or cancel your mobile subscription from one place? Just dial *17# to access and manage all your subscriptions everywhere you go. Tomorrow is Sunday, and some of us will be going to church. But if you're not able to go to church, all you need to do is to listen to Joy 99.7 FM Pentecost Hour. It will be coming your way, sponsored by the Church of Pentecost, with the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Eric Nyamiche, on Joy 99.7 FM every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. So tomorrow, please tune into Joy FM as Apostle Nyamiche brings you life transforming truth that nourishes the soul, ignites passion, and restores hope in the nations. The Church of Pentecost, we are possessing the nations for the Lord. We're still here on Joy 99.7 FM, Showbiz A-Z. In the meantime, though, let's take a breather. We'll be right back. talking about how to promote Ghanaian arts on the global market. It's been very insightful right here. KOD, Uncle Ken, Chief Moomin, and Randy Walker. But I have this message from DJ Mensa. And DJ Mensa says today's discussion has been thought-provoking with numerous questions and ideas swirling around. DJ Mensa, yeah. DJ Mensa Sarkodie is DJ. And he says that, however, it's become clear that we are all eager to move beyond the realms of questions and towards concrete solutions. And then he says the pressing issue now is to determine where to begin. Who are the key stakeholders we should engage with to bring about change? What actionable steps can we take? And when should we start implementing them? Randy, I'm still waiting for us to close our deal. This is just by the way. All right, John 99.7 FM now. To wrap up, let's talk about the intentionality, by wrapping up. How do we arrest the situation, if you like? Let me start with Chief Moment.
Successful, because I think it will become successful. There wouldn't have been the Benner Boys and the Whiskers without the D'banj and the likes of them. They actually created the wave. Right now, the Sarkodias, the Shatawales, the Stone Boys, the Kim Promise, they are building the wave. They are building the momentum, and now the Black Sheriffs and Co are emerging. I think that we'll get those global superstars. But what do we do with that stardom? That's where the responsibility of the musicians come in, right? And for example, the first time I watched the I don't know whether it was Whiskey or the videos O2 concert, I was like, wow, this is a lost opportunity. Both Wizkid and the video, they came out wearing Gucci jackets. So I had this idea in my mind, African giant Gucci puppets, right? How do we use our celebrity and our international acclaim to enable our local industry, whether it is fashion, whatever we are doing? That is where the artist must be intentional. That's why sometimes I say that our artists can be a selfish bunch. We must understand the responsibility we also have to the society that helped build us. Because at the end of the day, music, arts is commerce and it's promotion. So that if we use the platforms that we get to promote the same old global brands, the Gucci's, the alcoholic brands that sometimes there isn't even any sponsorship or any brand related. I know that now the big boys, when it comes to the whiskey, they will do that for money now. But before they get there, they start platforming some of these brands, right? We have fashion is one of the places that I'm so proud of when it comes to our local industry and how our fashion designers look at the Dwaba Sewers and the Christy Browns and all of them. They are doing amazing work. Now imagine if the video, for example, had gone onto that O2 Arena, his first big global concert, wearing like a dope design by some Nigerian artist, right? Because you realize that fashion and music goes hand in hand in movies. People will start googling, oh, who did this? So my point about intentionality is that when the artists are successful and they get onto these platforms, they should be intentional about using those platforms to enable the cultural industry, the music industry, whatever industry. They should be intentional and not just provide free promotion for foreign brands as a way of creating aspirations that we don't need. The artists must also recognize their responsibility to society to helping the whole industry also develop. So for me, that's the point at which I want to take intentionality from: using your craft, using your platform, using your celebrity to promote, the industry so that we can grow together harmoniously.
Thank you very much, Randy Walker. Actionable steps.
Right. So Kwame, I think moving away from intentionality, I'll talk about selling right.
Okay.
Let's nobody lie to you that we have a problem with our product. We don't. We probably never have. We're never going to have a problem with our product. It is selling what we have and what we have been able to create. And once a creative product comes out, it has to go through certain, filters to start to make sense. Some of which sometimes may go beyond the capacity of the artist and their teams. There are formats of operation across all of these facets, and the world is moving very fast. If you're not in a position to, crack the whip and move the needle and get the work going, find somebody that can hold your hand and get you to the destination you want to go to. We've had countless conversations about, we want to try, we have been there, and so let's do it. No, we'll waste a lot of time, a lot of energy and money trying than actually giving the work to people who have proven time and time again to have delivered at the highest level. I see no reason why there are a lot of people in this country that people come and consult from, but locally nobody's looking after them. Because here, we're looking for external validation. Everybody wants to hear from a certain type of guy before they come and see KOD on some level. No, it doesn't have to happen like that. There's so many things that are happening that we can be a part of. We would want to be there, but once we don't start selling right, we're probably never going to end there. A typical example is Afrobeats. Afrobeats is a big case study of a product sold right. Afrobeats with an S is not a genre. It's a packaged collection of music. It's a packaging problem. For so long, Africa has been, challenged with the big burden of getting a music genre beyond the shores of Africa. They came together, pick something from here, pick put together Afrobeats. It's gone. Today, South Africans successfully have pushed Amapiano. Indigents in South Africa think Amapiano is an insult to South African indigenous house music. Because, they think to some level it doesn't represent them. But beyond what they don't see is that if whatever consumption doesn't exceed what you're experiencing in your local market, don't expect any sustainable gains outside the country. Because access triggers consumption. And so the more the people get the products, the more they are likely to check it out, the more they are likely to refer someone to check it out as well. If I'm not there, it's not in my face, I can't see it, chances are I'll probably miss it. Our attention span has become volatile than ever before. And so if you're not...
There's too much in
our face. There's over 72,000 hours of content daily.
Exactly.
And so if you're not making a big story or big picture or something about your content or your product, forget it. You're down to the pack of whatever is happening. And you see, another thing I'd want to touch on finally is, as creatives, once the product comes out of your shelf, your creative shelf, you almost want to have control over what the people sink to the bottom and what they crown to the top. That's another thing people have problems with.
Okay.
We should rather find ways of mitigating whatever happens after the product is dropped than fighting people for wanting what they want. Fans will always want what they want, who they want to listen to. Our problem is a Kwame Dadzie seated in a Joy FM to say, I feel they're playing so much of this guy, not because he's not all that, but let me introduce the people to this guy. I think he needs that support as well. Watch people sway gradually to that part. That's all we need.
It's been done before.
Okay.
Kwame, back then we had people who could take credit for hit songs, as in radio presenters.
Yes.
Charlie, this song they know with this person, Mekam.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen now. When's the last time we heard anyone being, giving that reverence for being the one that orchestrated?
Social media is dictating.
Because
Exactly.
social media is
But
dictating.
you see,
Yes.
social media is, but traditional media is still a very, very huge platform that we can't, discredit or shove in terms
Traditional
of
media
what we do.
validates.
Yeah, it
what you do
validates.
on film.
No matter what you do, it does. We have to be intentional. I mean, that's the word for this afternoon. And there's an element that we missed. Quite a number of our friends from Nigeria, when they come to promote their music here, have relationships with some of us, in the media space. Like there's a new song coming. Yesterday I got a text message from DJ, the DJ who's a musician in Nigeria as well.
Neptune.
He sent me a message like, I have a new one coming up. I don't know how many of us do the same thing. How many of our musicians leave our space, our shores, to go elsewhere to promote their music? Very often we think about the cost component. But actually, if you don't invest, you can't eat. Do you understand? I mean, we saw Sarkodie in Nigeria.
I
Went
think
to
he went to
Tanzania, Kenya
as well. And that's what we should do.
Stonebwoy does
We need
that
to be
as
very
well.
intentional about promoting our craft beyond the Ghanaian space. Yes, Ghana's accepted you. Also to our friends in the media space, traditional media space, please, let's see that, content-wise, what percentage are you giving to our own music? And then two things, one last thing that the two of you mentioned earlier, hip-hop is the music and the fashion. We had Hip Life, and it came with people wearing elements of a traditional fabric as well. Hello, Afrobeat is for all of us. It's not for the Nigerians. If we're selling that music, that genre of music, let's see the elements of African fashion go with it as well.
All right. Thank you, KOD. Now to Uncle Ken.
Almost,
Definitely.
No, the
Uncle
1957,
Ken.
I've been expecting my 1957.
Yes, Uncle Ken.
That's overdue.
Of
Yeah.
course he knows.
I'm pardonable.
Kwame,
Yes, sir.
all I want to say is, as far as I am concerned, quality content in whichever field, fashion, music, theater, fine arts, whatever, if your content has quality, I'm sure it will find a level somewhere.
You get your
So
level.
as far as I'm concerned, I always harp on quality. Deliver quality and you will get there.
All right, thanks so much, Uncle Ken, who is host of Jazz on Joy and Ken's Music Mix on Joy 99.7 FM. To you, Chief Moment, playwright and poet. To Randy Walker, who is a music and marketing executive. And to KOD, Kofi Wachidakom, CEO of 1957, founder of Rhythms on the Runway. It's been very, very educative right here, trying to find out ways of promoting Ghanaian arts on the global market. My name is Kwame Dadzie, show produced by Philip Nye, with Anita Te giving the assistance. Ezekiel Adi today was on social media. Show was sponsored by MTN Everywhere You Go and Superstar Multi-Food Ring. We're back next week to give you another big package right here on Joy 99.7 FM. In the meantime, though, we are here, or we are going